Hi, I'm Lynn Rideout, and I am part of Denali's Client Delivery Services organization. And today I'm going to talk to you about digital marketing. Just very briefly, digital marketing is really very similar to advertising and other marketing agency spend areas that we might address in the procurement space. Really, only difference is the medium is typically something like search or mobile, tablet, other digital creative that you might think about. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Really what the intent of today is really just to focus on 5 pro tips for digital marketing sourcing projects specifically. So 5 areas that might be a little bit unique or might give you something to think about. This can be really good if you've already been doing sourcing projects in this category. It can also be good if you're brand new to the area and just want a few things to think about. So those 5 key areas, we'll dive right in. The first area is scope requirements. The pro tip number 1 about scope requirements, obviously in the world of sourcing and procurement, we tend to want really firm requirements. We like black and white. We like everybody kind of on, as we call it, the apples to apples comparison. Marketers typically like to leave a little room for creative. When they're selecting an agency, you really want to hear that creative pitch, to hear what's unique about partnering with a given agency. So there's purposely some ambiguity. So pro tip number 1 is finding that right balance between firm requirements and leaving a little bit of opportunity for that creativity. One way that sourcing can really help, or procurement, is to really help to draft that scope and take that out of marketing's hands. So that's pro tip number 1. Pro tip number 2 is around agency selection. This can be just mind-boggling. It's huge, the number of agencies that are out there, different sizes, shapes, cultures, and so on. Again, an area that procurement can really take the load off of marketing is to sit down with them, interview them, understand what they're looking for in an agency. What are some of those knockout questions in terms of industry experience or size, or is it top tier, or do we want really a niche or boutique firm? Narrowing that down and then doing the heavy lifting to do some of the research. There are great information sources out there. Agencies love to tout their case study portfolio, the clients that they work with, and some of their capabilities. So procurement should have no problem looking for this information and being able to cultivate that and give it back to marketing to help narrow down who are the agencies that they want to proceed with for a proposal process. Moving on to tip number 3. Tip number 3 is all about visible value, or ROI. Definitely not a good idea to come to marketing with, this is how I want to save you money, or here's the lowest possible cost that we can go with. But ROI is really important. The value for every marketing dollar becomes really, really critical when you're in marketing and trying to make that dollar go a long way. So talking about ROI, thinking about that value, and then using that when you're evaluating suppliers can be really important. And my pro tip here is really just to make sure that whatever you're doing in your proposal process, that you're at least collecting price cost information in a really transparent way from suppliers. So here's one example of that, where we're looking at a rate by role example and years of experience, and really then able to collect that from the different agencies and compare just as an even point of view for marketing to take a look at. You can absolutely request alternate proposals and look at different ways or more creative ways of looking at the price or cost components. But really having at least a firm footing to be able to share that with marketing on an even playing field is just a really nice way of adding value and making sure that there's at least consistent analysis taking place. Moving on to pro tip number 4, budget. This can be a no-brainer. Of course, we just assume there's going to be budget. We assume that we're going to do a sourcing project and then award based on the results of that. But that's not always the case. And so it's good, really upfront, pro tip number 4, to sit down with marketing and make sure we understand the budget. What is that budget? Is there a risk of it getting taken away? Is there a time sensitivity to that? And then using that to at least help craft how we're going to approach the agency base. So understanding the budget and moving forward in line with that can be a really, really important tool. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten halfway through a project or have heard of other people getting halfway through only to have the budget get restricted or reapplied somewhere else, something like that. And obviously that's something we want to avoid. My final tip, pro tip number 5, is around timeline. Again, as procurement people, we like to have a firm procurement process. We like to make sure that we're doing things in a pretty risk adverse and kind of step-by-step way. Marketing sometimes really needs to work fast. They've got, deadlines for new campaign launches, things like that, or again, to that budget piece, a budget that might go away in the next number of weeks, months, so on. So sitting down and really agreeing on timeline up front is important. Keep in mind, particularly in the digital space, digital projects may involve IT and marketing and other functions as well. So making sure everybody's on the same page with that timeline is really, really critical. So those are really our 5 tips. The one other thing that I'll add is it is important to note that as we're recording this, we are currently experiencing the COVID-19 global pandemic. So anything talking about marketing is really happening during a challenging time right now. So what does that mean? Well, in some cases, it means that marketers more than ever before need to be doing marketing, and they need to change some of their existing marketing that showed large crowds of people, showed concerts, major venues, sporting events, things like that are no longer really applicable, and marketers and brands have to really think about maybe pulling those down and switching that marketing and being more sensitive to current times. So there is still a need for marketing. Digital is a great format because obviously we're all at home on tablets, on phones, socially distanced, and digital mediums are certainly something that we're looking at all the time. So marketers can take note of that and really think about increasing some of their digital campaigns and changing those to be a little bit more sensitive to the times that we're in right now. So more than ever, digital becomes something to think about, and spending probably is still occurring as you think about it. So really those are our 5 tips and a couple of caveats around today's current times. I would love to connect and talk more about any of these things in a little more detail. Please feel free to comment below or certainly link to me in LinkedIn, and that would be great. Thank you so much.